Vamshi vibhushitakaran navaneeradaabhat pītāmbaradarunabimba phaladharostat purnendu sundaramukhat aravinda netrat krishnat param kimapi tattvamaham na jane. Welcome to the scripture class today. And today's scripture, as you have guessed from the Mangala Charan, it's all adoration to Sri Krishna. And today's scripture class is Uddhava Gita, a wonderful portion of Bhagavatam, where Krishna is the main thing, though he's teaching the thing. Krishna is seems to be all bhakti, all adoration and love and devotion. But Krishna brings one episode from his ancestor Yadu, that how Yadu saw an realized soul called Avadhuta, or often called Brahmana, and the conversation between his ancestor Yadu and this Avadhuta, young man, realized a person. You see, he was a what you call Jivan Mukta, and the conversation, the Yadu asked, "Who was your guru?" And then that Avadhuta says, "I have not one guru. I have 24 gurus in the sense, and from them what I have learned." So he tells in details and how it is all about the jnana, about the knowledge. So this is beautifully in the Avadhuta Gita. In fact, Bhagavatam itself is Dasam Skanda is all Krishna's childhood and his love, and then Rasa Leela with the gopis. This is also devotion and full of love. But there is so much of Advaita Jnana in the Bhagavatam. It's wonderful scriptures of jnana and bhakti together, like Kapila Devahutam Vada. It's very Advaitic knowledge that Kapila, the son, says to his mother, the Devahuti. Here also, the after bringing, when Uddhava says, "How will you live without you? It's better I may also give up my body." He says, "No, you go to Badrikashram and you practice upasana there. You don't have to give up the body." And he then, in saying all that, he brings the story of this Yadu and Avadhuta. And Avadhuta then telling about his gurus, he says, I had 24 gurus. And these gurus were not just human beings who taught me something, but I learned from them. It is not directly saying, do this and don't do that. But by seeing their life and absorbing through the intellect, analyzing through his rationality, and finding the deep meaning in their actions, the Avadhuta found so much of knowledge from them. And who were these gurus? These gurus were Prithvi. These gurus, you see, you are Prithvi, Vayu, Akasham, Apo, Agnis, Chandrama, Ravi, Kapoto, Jagaras, Sindhu, Patango, Madhukrit, Gaja. Very things of the nature. Prithvi, the earth. He's seeing the earth. He found so much of spiritual teaching in the earth, how it endures, how it gives to the thing without any distinction. It is so kind and so supportive of everyone. Like Vayu from Akasha, not at all tainted by through what it carries, smells, good or bad. Akasham, like the sky, never touched by the cloud that come to it. It is so detached from the things that moves through it. Akasham, apo, like water, that it flows and the taste it has, and it is same everywhere, and is so much nourishing to that kind, that like apa. Then Agni, like the fire being one, but when it produces it the fuel are different, so Agni seems different, and the flame that we see is the flame comes and goes. It's every moment it is changing. It seems to be same. Similarly, this body is ever changing, but we think it is constant. But the Atma is not changing. Like that, from Agni also he had that spiritual message he could receive. So let us see today we had something about today we'll come Agni, we already read. So about Chandrama, what we learned from moon, what the spiritual message could be found in moon. It's on the book Uddhava Gita by Swami Madhavananda ji. Uh, on that book called The Last Message of Sri Krishna, it is on page 37 and verse number 48. So the verse goes like this: Visargadya smashananta bhava dehasya natmana kalanam iva chandrasya kalena avyakta vartmana. So, like the moon having different phases, kalanam iva kala, the moon's different phases are called kala. The moon on bright fortnight, it gradually increases to the full moon, and then the phases that decrease, it wanes, and then it is the new moon. Nothing is seen on the dark night, on the new moon day, new moon night. So, but there is no change in moon at all. Just it appears that moon is not there. Moon is lost, or moon has become like crescent or gibbous or half moon. But all these are the seeming difference. There is no real change in moon. Moon is same, just the reflection of this shadow of the earth falls in different phases, and moon seems to be waning and waxing. Like that, the human beings, this body changes, and we think that we are changing. It just appears to be changing, but we do not change. That's what it got that message from seeing the different phases of moon. Kalanam iva chandrasya kalena avyakta vartmana. This kala, time, is so powerful. Avyakta vartmana. This is a very powerful time, very inscrutable, difficult to understand. This time's inscrutability, we cannot understand how in time everything so much changes. Like that, the phases of moon that change, but the change is just appearance, is not the real change. What changes? Visargadya smashananta. From visarga adya, from birth, from beginning with the birth. Adya means beginning. Visarga is the birth. When the Srishti has happened, Visarga, from Srishti, the Sarga. So that has come to Smashananta, until the Smashana, the cremation ground. Very poetic expression in the Bhagavatam, our Vyasadeva has written. It's not the death, it's not Mrityu, Smashananta, up to the end in the cremation ground, Smashana. That all happens by this bhava. All these seeming changes, bhava, vikara, are dehasya. These are of the body, na atmana, not of the soul, not of the spirit, not of the real person. By seeing the moon, it said moon has not changed. Only it appears to be increasing in size. It was very small, crescent, and then slowly grows, and then becomes full moon, and then slowly wanes to become slowly decreases and becomes the new moon. No, nothing is seen, as if moon is increasing in size, brightness, its shape. Everything is changing as it were, but there is no real change in the moon. How beautifully it was already known to this, how this astronomy, India was quite developed in the science of astronomy, when others didn't know how this changes phases of moon are there, how this this calculation also, this when will be the eclipse. So wonderful calculation they used to do, that they can predict that when there will be the eclipse. There were not sophisticated instruments, nothing. That's through calculation and the timing of the movement of earth and moon. They could all find about the eclipse, solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, exact time they could calculate. And as these were very eclipse are very unusual thing that happens. Otherwise, just phases come and moon shines, sun shines always, or moon should be regular phases of bright fortnight and dark fortnight, like that. But sometimes moon gets totally eclipsed by the earth's shadow. So their description was not the earth's shadow, but they knew perhaps it was done by ourselves. And there's many stories they used to make, like there is the Rahu and Ketu, and they are the Asuras, and as if they are going to devour the moon, uh, instead of saying that it is the shadow of the moon. So that stories make it's more thrilling. And they made these eclipses, the unusual changes in the heavenly movement, as some very religious time, very auspicious time. So that they say that don't eat during eclipse time, or don't cook before eclipse. Rather, why did they say it? What happens in eclipse? They said rather utilize that time in spiritual, intense spiritual practice. Do japam, do meditation during eclipse time. So lunar eclipse is quite longer time. It goes slow movement of the sun and moon. Solar eclipse is faster, but it is supposed to be very auspicious time for spiritual practice. That's why it said, do not indulge in eating or other any worldly activities. So it became auspicious, or they said no, eating that time is not good. Um, they had to explain in that way instead of saying that it is very auspicious. But the fact was they wanted that time to be utilized for spiritual practice as the auspicious time. So here this Avadhuta, or the astronomical knowledge was there, that how phases of moon are formed. And the phases are formed, but moon remains same. Thus it appears that it is increasing and then again decreasing in brightness, in shape, in size. So similarly, uh, mm, the human being born, Visarga Adya, in the beginning he is born. And Smashananta. And what is that? That's why it is said there are Shad Vikara. There are six changes in the human body. Six changes. There is Jayate, Asti, Vardhate, Viparinamate, Apakshiyate, Nasyati. So Jayate is his born. Then Jayate Asti, he's conceived, then he's born. After he is conceived, then he is Asti, their existence comes after he is born. So existence is preceded by birth, birth and then existence. Before birth, what existence must be existing in Jayate, and then Asti, when he's born, then its existence starts in the earth. And then Asti Vardhate, then there is growth. These all are the Vikara, these are the Bhava. As he said, Smasan Bhava, this Bhava, Vikara, changes. Vikara means change. All this Vikara is called change, is called Vikara. This then Vardhate, it increases, and then Viparinamate. Parinama is maturity. Vishesha Rupena Parinamate. Then maturity comes. After you are mature, then what happens? You are fully mature. Then apakshiyate. Then there is declination. Then you are going to decrease in your weight, in your memory, in your thought, in your response. Everything now is declining. Old age is setting. Senility is coming. So declining. And after that, what will happen? Sixth, apakshiyate nasyati smashanantava, that is smashananta bhava, and then death. This all phases, this all changes, this bhava, this vikara is of what? Dehasya. He saw that. This Avadhuta said, this all changes that we see is of the body. Na Atmana. It is not the Atman. Atman remains same. Moon remains same. But moon's phases make it seem as if the moon itself is increasing or decreasing. It started and then declining, finished, from new moon, from the first day after the new moon, the growth, and then declination, then after the full moon, then decreasing, and then again on the new, before the new moon, very little is left, and on the new moon nothing is remaining. So he says that moon really doesn't change, moon remains same. Similarly, our also physical body, it has changes, it goes. But Atman, na Atmana, Atmana Bhava, it's not the Bhava of the Atmana, it's not the Vikara of the Atmana. How he made this visualization of the moon, changes in moon, to relate it to the body and the Atman. Atman is unchanging, it remains same. But only appearance and body changing seems that as if I am changing. This is the appearance in change. na atmana. And this, what he says, kalina avyakta vartmana, this powerful time, it makes so many changes in this creation, in this world, by the power of the atman, the kalena. In the kala, things come and goes. Kala, things becomes good and bad. All this is the play of time on this earth, and we are all subject to the change of the kala. um, and then what he says in the next verse, Kalena yoga vegena bhutanam prabhavapyayo nityavapina drishyete atmanogner yatharchisham. Here he brings little of Agni, you see. He says, birth and death, though ever assailing bodies through the massive velocity of time, this time is carrying our body from birth to death, and with great philosophy there is change. We know that if you we are already those who are already in the middle age or we're already mature, and now in the declination phase, we know we seem that we were just young people like teenagers a few years ago, and now suddenly we are now old people. So what powerful this time, and what fast the time goes. Time goes fast. So someone said, "Mm, can you measure time?" So it says, no, it's too fast, like that. So you can't measure the time. Similarly, this here it says, kalena hi ogha vegena, this fast moving time, bhutanam prabhavapyayo, body through the massive velocity of time, ogha vegena, massive velocity, are never witnessed of the self. This prabhava apyayo, birth and death. Prabhava means again beginning. There it was visarga, and then smasana, anta. Here is prabhava and apyayo. This is because two, beginning and death. That's why apyayo, prabhava and apya, birth and death. All these are by the great velocity of time, taking it from birth to death. And we are in that massive velocity of time, our all changes come. And nityavapina drishyete atmanogner yatharchisham, are never witnessed this massive velocity of time, this though ever assailing bodies through the massive velocity, are never witnessed of the self, as in the case of the flames of fire. So it is changing, but we don't recognize, because self, never witness of the self, is ever there. It doesn't change. Like in the fire, every moment fire is changing. We are getting new fuel, new gas coming, whether it is the wood or your gas. The gas supply comes, it burns, and whatever burnt is lost every moment. Burnt is lost, new flames coming, and it seems that it is the same. So like that, fire remains same for our this thing appearance. Like that, atman remains same. But every moment the body is changing. That's why it gives the example of, this is in return, in passing to the topic of fire, to emphasize transitoriness of things, and thus stimulate a spirit of renunciation. So this world is transitory, ever changing. In every moment it is changing. So don't get attached to this body and to this world, but rather hold on to the pure, permanent, and true nature, that is Atman, which doesn't change. If you hold on to this changing body as your own self, then you also change, and then you will also die. And there is fear of death and disease and old age, and all those will come. But if you know that this body is always changing, like the fire, but yourself, true self, true Atman, is never changing, and you hold on yourself as the Atman, then there is no problem in you. Then you feel you are permanent, nothing is changing. Something, the problems pertaining to the bodies, it doesn't affect you in the way it would affect to a person um, who does not rationalize, who does not discern, who am I? Am I this body ever changing, or am Atman? Discernment, discrimination. So who discerns that between the real and the unreal, between the ever changing body and never changing self? and finds this true self as himself, his own soul, to be the himself or herself. So, true self, which has no gender, that person is not affected by the changes in the fire. And body is ever changing, like the every moment changing flames of the fire. So, after saying about here about the moon, he again comes back to the fire. After saying fire, it makes different shapes according to the shape of the fuel. And after saying all that, again, two verses on the fire, as I said earlier before this Chandra. And he again once more this Avadhuta talks about the fire, brings it to conclude here his message that he got from the fire and from the moon. And what a spiritual message he's getting, and always emphasizing and asserting our nature as the Atman, never changing Atman. And when we assert our Atman nature, then we become free from the changing body as ourself. So that's how jnana, knowledge of the self, which will strengthen us. So that is there. Now let us see, it is already said about the Chandra. Now, gunair gunanupadatte yatha kalam vimunchati nateshu yujyate yogi gobhirga iva gopati. Now, Chandrama Ravi was there in the first line of the four verses, four lines, two verses. The first line is there, last one was Chandrama, then Ravi. Now he's talking about the sun, what he learned from sun, what spiritual message he got from the sun. And he says that there is a, he could find the similarity between the sun and the yogi. What similarity he could find between the sun and the yogi? Sun is there and is always burning and giving the source of energy to this earth, and the yogi is meditating in the cave. Not that aspect of sun, but sun's some accents how he finds compatible with the accents of the yogi. Let us see. Gunair gunanupadatte yatha kalam vimunchati. In yogis, gunan upadatte. The senses, they act on the sense object. When we are alive, our senses will be acted upon. Our senses will act upon the sense object. Eyes will have the vision. The ears will listen to the sound, and the nose will smell the flavor. Like that, it will be there. But gunai gunan upadatte. This gunai means sense organs will interact with the gunan, with the visayas, with the sense objects. Padatte yatha kalam vimunchati. But in the case of yogi, they don't hold on. After when their senses come in contact with the sense objects, ordinary persons, they get attached to the sense object. That is the problem. But yogis, they yatha kalam vimunchati, they don't hold on. Time comes, they give up. They become detached. They have that much power that this is something nice and nice to visual and pleasing. But they just after that moment they are not attached to that. They don't in their mind it doesn't linger. It is there for the time being and gone. So everything is like that for them. Maybe one Swami used to say, he used to visit a house and people asked him, Swamiji, how did you like my food after some time? Then he says, I ate that, it was good, but after that I forgot. I always forget after that what did I eat, and I don't. It doesn't just remain in my mind that oh that food was so nice and all that. Then I say yes, it was nice, but which thing you liked in my cooking? Then he says, I don't remember at all. What were the dishes? What were the varieties of this thing? So I said, everything was good. So like that, it doesn't remain attached to the things. It comes and it goes. They can just give up. It is not only giving up the thing in the mind, not being attached and to the things of the senses, objects of the senses, but also something are given to us. And then the yogi, what he does, he takes that and then gives other time. Like this story of Tulsidas and that Muslim saint Muslim Krishna Bhakta saint, when Tulsidas said, well, how is it that you, when you give with your hands, as the hand rise to give something, your eyelids come down, hands rise and eyelids come down and give close, and then you give the thing. How is it that? And then Ras Khan, he says that. Because when I give something, people may mistake that I am the giver, but I am not the giver. Lord gives, and I am just the agent to pass it from one person to another. They are things that we give, so that people may not forget, or for me, that I am the giver, I am the donor. This type of idea shouldn't come, so that my eyes get closed, just to make me aware that I am not the doer, I am not the giver. It is Lord who is giving. It came and it went, given by the God, given to the God in the form of recipients, like that type of thing. Swami Shivananda ji, some people, some this our brahmacharis went to Shivananda ji. They were going for relief work, and Shivananda ji asked them, "Where are you?" Then he said, "Swami Maharaj, tomorrow we are going to do relief." And then he said, "What you will do in relief?" So Maharaj will distribute the things that are to be distributed, clothes and the food and other utensils, whatever they need, we'll distribute. We'll give that to the people, needy people who are in trouble now because of natural calamity. Oh, that you are giving the things. But the things were given by the people, donated by the people. You are giving that. So what will you give? So it was the people thing. The donation came from some people. You are giving that to the needy people. There's nothing yours. But what are you giving? Then Brahmachari said, "Maharaj, that whatever is given to us from the ashram, that we will distribute. What we are brahmacharis. We have nothing to give. Whatever is given to us by the society, we'll distribute that to the recipients." Then Mahapurush Maharaj said, "No, you have something that you should give along with that objects that you are giving." Then they were all surprised. What we have to give? We have nothing. Then he said, you can add love to your donation, to your gifting exercise. When you give the objects given by the donors to the recipient, you give love to them, honor, respect, reverence, and with the attitude that you are offering that to God in the form of needy people. With that shraddha you give, your love you give, and that you give the things with all that you have, and you should give that. It's not just a passing from the donor to the recipient, but adding something, adding the reverence, adding the respect, adding your divine feeling. Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva, that you can do that. So here also, Gunair Gunanupadatte Yatha Kalam Bimunchati. When time comes, Bimunchati, they are freed. So something is given, they give. Once one Swamiji was talking about some monks. Swami Ishatmanji was giving a talk, and he said that he was working, he saw that Swami, and they said whenever something came to the Swami, and the next moment somebody gifted something. Next moment he will ask someone like some brahmachari or something. So do you need this? Please take this. Next moment he will give. Then he will not hold on to think that, oh, I will need it. So when time comes, when needy people come, that has to go to the people who can really utilize that. And the next moment he will give everything, having only one or two clothes for him. All the things that he receives, some gives socks, some gives woolen garment, some gives woolen shawls. All is just given up as soon as possible to the people who really need that. That is what the monks do, the yogis do. Nateshu yujjate yogi. The yogi, nateshu, they are not attached to the things, not to the objects of the senses, nor to the objects that come to them as the gift. They are not attached to that is called yogi. Nateshu yujjate. They are not joined, they are not attached to that. Then where is the sun? Is all the description of the yogi. Where the sun comes in this? Then he said, Govirga iva gopatihi. You see, the word Surya is not used, Bhanu is not used, Bhaskara is not used, Arka is not used. It is used Gopatihi. What a beautiful poetry and choice of words. Govirga iva Gopati. Govirga means as the Gopati, as the sun. By Govi means rays, sun rays. With the power of sun rays, like the Gopati or sun, withdraws the water from the ocean. And then that ocean's water is brought and brought in the form of cloud, and then it is given up to this earth. So withdrawing and not holding, it doesn't, sun doesn't take. With the help of rays, Govirga, like that whole water is collected in the form of vapor from the ocean and the other water body, and then it is in time, then it's all given back to this earth, where it flows back to the ocean. It doesn't hold, sun doesn't hold anything to itself. It's all taken and then given up when the right time comes. So in summer it will withdraw the water, and then rainy season the clouds will come and the all humidity will increase, and there will be rain, and then and all water will come. All is done by the power of sun Gopati, Gobirga Iva, like sun doing by the power of its rays, Govirga, its rays. So like that, here's the example of sun he brings. By seeing sun, he sees the sun's action in producing water, in producing rain. And that how he adopts that with the life of a yogi. Yogi is not attached to the things of the world. He is not attached to the sense objects. No senses are attached to the sense objects. It may come and then go. In the Gita also you'll find similar words. The sense enter into the yogis, like the water entering into rivers, entering into the ocean, and samudramapa pravisanti yadvat tadvat kamayam pravisanti sarve sasanti mapnoti na kama kami, where all the things, sense objects come, get attached to the senses, and then but they don't disturb the mind. Like ocean is not disturbed, its elevation doesn't increase by the rivers continually flowing, putting water into it. Like that, Sri Krishna compares in the Gita the mm, person of knowledge who is not affected by the stimulus that is brought to the senses, and not being affected by anything. Here it says the sense objects may be sense organs may be come in contact with the sense objects, but he is not affected. He withdraws and then he gives up at the right time. So wonderful message from sun. He gets this thing. So it is not the sun giving him message. You can understand from this how deep his power of observation, and relating it to the spiritual knowledge, and finding that how yogis should live. When he said yogis do this, it means those who want spiritual life should lead that way. Nothing of the sense object should affect our mind. It may come, we may find a nice thing to eat, beautiful scenes to see, but it should not affect our steadiness, our our fixedness on our object of our meditation, or object of our contemplation. That is God. We should be there. The things that we go in around, that should not affect our thing. That's why you find sometimes these monks, they talk many things. They talk about the social thing, what is good and what is bad, and sometimes about the good thing, what they like in even politics. But they are not affected. Monks of our order are not concerned at all about the politics of the thing. They may express that, oh, I like this, I don't like that, but that doesn't affect their mind. Whatever comes, whatever people choose, that is fine. These are all changes coming and going. They are not affected. Oh, the one I thought would do good to the society, good to the nation, he that lost, that didn't come to power, or that another come to power, that doesn't affect them, because their mind is fixed on the the highest ideal. That is the ideal of God, where this fleeting changes, this every time 4 years elections coming and going. So that becomes a temporary thing for them. For the time being, they can talk with the people. Uh, s- but they don't hold on to that thought that doesn't disturb them. So yogis should not be disturbed by the environment, by the words, sounds, incidents that happen in the world. Sometimes it's not that always it didn't happen. You will say calamity. You have so much of calamity happening in Turkey and Syria. Do you feel that? Yes, we feel. Swami Vivekananda, the more the yogi is more advanced, who can feel his oneness or her oneness with the whole creation, with whole humanity, that person feels more deeply affected by the afflictions in the world. Those who are yet to progress in that level, they also affected, but not maybe that much. But people feel, and when they feel, what they do, they pray to them. Today, someone told me that one of their colleagues' husband is sick in somewhere in India, and so I said I will pray for your colleague's husband. Is because he got serious and he's in ICU and that intensive care unit. Then I came and prayed to the colleague of that devotee who lives in India. That much prayer, with sincere prayer to Holy Mother, to Sri Ramakrishna, to Jesus. The person who is suffering is belongs to Christian. He's a Christian. He's the God, Christ. So I pray to Christ very fervently. So that much we feel and we pray and hope that our prayer works. And still, I feel that the prayer will work, and by the grace of Christ and Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, he will get well. That is my fervent prayer. But we feel, it's not that we don't feel. We feel for Turkey, we feel for Syria, thousands of people, they died and suffering and so much are injured. Um, but the thing is, how much that should be troubling us. That, that should give us some positive orientation how we can help. Ours is, as Holy Mother said, if you don't have means to donate, then you pray for the people. Jar ache mapu, jar nei jopo. Those who have, measure, means you give, measure and give. And those who do not have, do japam, pray for them. So this prayer, empathy, feeling, that is the thing we can give for them. So that is how we are connected with the whole world, because they are all my own Atman in different forms. And when they suffer, it is my own suffering. That type of thing yogis also feel. But they have a limit of that. They can do that up to the prayer, up to the good wishes, up to maybe they will talk to the people how we can help others, to the people who can donate or who can physically support them. They can inspire them. That much they can do. But there is a that much is done. So whatever good they could do. So here also they have that it says like the sun brings the thing and then it gives at the time. So you give the thing, pray to the needy people, afflicted people, and if you can inspire other people, you inspire them to help them physically, monetarily, and more help is through spiritually, because this calamity, there's all are the part of this creation again. This happened. God has created this earth that way. This our creation is that the people we by mistake think everything is when we are born everything will be steady, and as we plan it will go in that way. It doesn't happen. Suddenly the things change. Suddenly things we didn't think that will happen that way. Suddenly you have a stroke. Suddenly you have heart attack. You're doing fine. One day it happens. That is how the creation. That is how the plans of the God are. And whole sometimes individual and sometimes for a group, earthquake or huge storm or this hurricane coming, that type of in a massive case it happens. But what to do? That's how the plan of God. God has planned the world like that. The death, creation, and destruction are two parts of the Divine Mother. She creates and she destroys. It's a play for her. But what is destroyed is again is the body. The soul remains indestructible, it remains intact, it is not degenerated or it is not deformed, so it doesn't have pain either. So soul is intact. So physically, to think oneself as the soul, that gets its strength. And the prayer that may everyone that is afflicted realize that they are the Atman, they are the spirit, they are not the body. Body is a fleeting, changing thing. That prayer also helps to the people in their way. So let's go to the next verse, verse 51. Buddhyate swena bhedena bhyaktissa iva tadgata lakshyate sthulmati viratma chavatistho arkavat. Here the word arka used. And what is the next message? One message: or don't get attached to the things of the world. Whatever you get, just give at the proper moment. Don't ever hold on to the things. Like the saint says, coming in contact, don't hold. Give up. Don't be attached. So, like that, next is like the sun, the Atman established in itself is not perceived as admitting of varieties, but when manifesting itself through an adjunct, is looked upon by dull-witted people as becoming identified with that. So it is little difficult to understand this verse. The verse actually want to say that sun, when it comes, it is reflected in different water bodies, a small bucket, different jugs, and the glass and the bowl. Sun looks to be divided. Each image of a sun is there, and it seems that each one is different sun. So the dull-witted person, we say it is a different sun, different beings. But intelligent knows that it is the reflection of one real sun, Arkavat. And like that, um, Buddhyate Swena Bhedena. There are varieties, Veda. Veda in itself, Vyaktistha iva tadgata. Vyaktistha in the what is called is ghat ghat mein leta. Jo Ram Dasarath ka beta, wahi Ram ghat ghat mein leta. वही राम जगत पसेरा वही राम सबसे न्यारा. Sri Ramakrishna used to quote this from Tulsidas Ramayana in Gospel, you'll find. Jo Rama Dasarath ka beta. The Rama who is the son of Dasaratha, God who is born as the son of Dasaratha, who is doing the Leela, Nara Leela as the son of Dasaratha, that very God, that Ishvara, is ghata ghata mein leta. Leta means he's lying, he's present in ghata ghata. What is that ghat? Ghat is not the vessel. Ghat in means ghat, ghata sthapan. You put the jar or jug for worshipping ghatam for God, as invoking the presence of God in that during the ritualistic worship. Wahi Ram ghat ghat mein leta. That Rama is in every pot, not that pot. Here ghat means every body. Here that also is Vyaktistha. Vyakti, in every body, that being is present, that God is present. That God is not really present. It appears that one God that is present in every being as a separate Atma. Beautiful analysis brings from sun. Reflection of sun in the water pots. There are different reflections, but one sun. And these reflections are not the real suns, but this appear to be different. They appear to be not related individual. Like that, if soul seems to be present in every being. I have this body, mind, and the spirit, as if spirit or soul is different. But in reality, this is all the reflection of one soul. Wahi Rama ghat ghat mein leta. That Rama who is born as the son of Dasaratha, that Rama is present in every being. Is he? You can say he's present in every being, or he appears to be present in every being, and you can say he's present in every being. That all present, when it's present in every being, he is the same being is present. So to more, and it's not individual. Rama doesn't become divided into so many beings. It just appears that Rama is in every being. By the power of Rama present, Antaratma, Antaryami, every being feels I am individual. But that individuality is just the appearance. It is reality. Everyone is same supreme being. Just reflection is there. And Vyaktistha iva tadgata. In the Vyakti, it has come to that. Like that, from sun's reflection, he brings supreme self, the Atma's reflection into the being, into as the ego. That ego is just the reflection of the true self, Paramatma, being reflected as the Atma or as the self, individual self, as Jivatma. So, in fact, each Jivatma is same Paramatma. Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. Jiva is not other than the Brahman, says Shankaracharya. Similarly, the reflection that you see in the sun in the different water vessels, collected water vessels, is same sun reflection, are just they represent different aspects of the one, that sun, and that is the reality. I learned that from the sun and its reflection, and how he Avadhuta relates that to human being. And that is what the wisdom of Avadhuta, and he gets the example of son to make his spiritual awareness more mature through all the examples of these natural heavenly bodies, or nature like earth and the water and the air and the moon and sun. So let us now go to another verse. Nati sneha prasango va kartavya kapi kenachit kurvan vindeva santapam kapota iva dinadhi. Now there was there in another verse was kapoto jagara. That was there. Kapoto Jagara Sindhu Patango Madhukrit Gaja. So now comes to another example, and there are many verses on Kapota, which brings a story. So after saying two verses on the sun and his spiritual message, he goes to Kapota, Ajagara, Sindhu, Patanga, Madhukrit, and Gaja. He will come, and this it's not at 24. Kapota means pigeon. Ajagara means python. Sindhu means ocean or sea. Patanga is fly. And Madhukrit, who makes Madhu, is a bee, honeybee. And Gaja is elephant. So he's going to give examples of spiritual examples, how he got spiritual message from these people. Now he will do it for few verses on Kapota, story of pigeon. He brings and tells the details, this story of pigeon. नाति स्नेह प्रसंगो वा कर्तव्य क्वापि केनचित kurvan vindet santapam kapota iva dinadhi. He tells the story of a pigeon, in fact, pigeon couple, who he says dinadhi. The dhi is dina. It's of an immature intellect. They cannot think and go into the begin into trouble because of ati sneha prasango va kartabhya. We should not get too much of sneha. We often said sneha means here comes attachment through affection, and attachment through so-called love. Real love has no attachment. Real love is very divine. But when there is attachment, as seen as love or explained as love, because if that love brings you any love that brings us problem, affliction, suffering, that means it was not love, it was attachment. So na ati sneha, too much of affection which turns into attachment. So this affection, this so-called love, it is na ati sneha prasango va kartabhya. So that should not be there. You should be aware of how much you love or how much you get attached. Real love should not bring any attachment. Kwapi kenachit, nowhere and no one should be involved in excessive attachment because of affection. Kurvan vindeta santapam. If one does so, one smitten with affliction like the poor pigeon. So he brings the story of pigeon and first message given. So I am telling you the story of pigeon who fell into affliction because of too much attachment to each other. So after that, he will describe about that very nicely, about how, what is the story of this kapota, of this one. One should not cherish too much affection or attachment for anyone. If one does so, one is smitten with afflictions like the poor pigeon. The lesson which the pigeon taught is graphically set forth from this verse to the end of the chapter. So there are many verses that will come about the story of the pigeon. So we will continue that story of the pigeon in our next class of Viveka Chudamani. We'll try to conclude today, because from 6:30 here in mountain time in Calgary, 8:30 time in Toronto, we'll have a prayer beginning. So I'd like to conclude today's class with the verse 52 and the message that too much of attachment, too much of affection, leading to attachment, should not have, any person should not have anywhere, because it brings affliction, it brings suffering. So like it happened to a Deenadhi Kapota, like it happened to a Manda Buddhi, like a dull, like a less intellectual, who doesn't have power to think, the pigeon. So I will tell you the story, says Avaduta. Let's hold on to that story. We'll do that from our next Uddhava Gita class. So thank you for attending today's scripture class. Next Wednesday, I will be in Toronto, and we can do it online as well as in person. Those who want to come to Vedanta Society at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, they're most welcome to come to Vedanta Society next Wednesday. For Not next Wednesday, will be gospel. After that will be Uddhava Gita. So today's Uddhava Gita class, we conclude with the closing chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padpadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmu. Good night to everyone. Thank you very much.